Welcome to Ideon Tech Talks. My name is Mia Rolf and I'm the CEO of Ideon Science Park. And Ideon Science Park is now over 400 companies based here in the south of Sweden, working to solve the problems of the future smart cities, future transportation, health technology, and smart material. And in these tech talks, we try to dig a little bit deeper into the technology actually developed here. And with me today, I have a special guest, the CEO of Safeture, Mr. Magnus Hultman. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Super.
Yeah. So we have to start with you. Tell me a little bit about you. Who are you?
Sure. So Magnus, I'm live in the countryside outside of Lund. I was born and raised in the countryside, and I really love being out there. But at the daytime, I work in high tech.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for quite some time. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been started up and been running 4 different companies in media and media technology prior to this. And since 1 year, I'm the CEO of Safeture, which is a listed company on NASDAQ First North. And it's also a different industry compared to what I'm used to. So from media,
you're more used to this media situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. This suits me quite well. So, but now it's security and safety. So,
and not any security, but security of the employees, of our customers.
That's right.
So we're going to dig into that. But can you start with how this technology came to life? Why did it happen, and how did it evolve? Because I think that's a quite interesting story.
Absolutely. So I'm not the founder of the company, and the company has been around for about 10 years, and it was founded by a professor of medicine actually here in Lund called Lars Lidgren, together with Andreas Rodman, who actually was based on Lars Lidgren. He was in China during the SARS epidemic, so quite ironic, quite ironic, but he was there during that time, and he saw that it was really about to go bad. It was about to go really bad. And what he found out then, coming from medicine, he saw that if you do not have the right information and the ability to locate where people are and the ability to communicate with the people, if you don't have that, then there will be problems. You need to solve that. So it was based on his first-hand experience, and that led him to the idea of trying to create something, almost an anthroposophic idea, idealistic, a world, global system, save the world, I think. But
we like that here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like that.
But he didn't come from technology side, and I think
not at all.
That's interesting too.
Yeah.
He just had this idea that it had to be solved.
Yeah, exactly. No, he no experience at all in technology. But he said that we have to solve communication, information, and location.
Right.
And then Lund is fantastic because everything is so close. You just walk over to the other company or set up a coffee meetup or whatever. So
we call that fika distance.
Fika.
Fika distance.
No, but it solves a lot of things. So one of his meetings was with Andreas Rodman, the other founder of the company, and they sat down and discussed this. And Andreas is a very experienced tech entrepreneur, and he started looking into it, and he saw that this can be built. But still, I mean, this was the early days. It was prior to smartphones, so it was feature phones back then. The old Nokias and
he
stuff
could
like
still understand that it could be done. Did he see,
yeah.
Did he see it coming in the future, or actual tech?
Well,
at that time?
The tech was there sort of because it was about communication, and so how to be able to send notifications to lots of people. The information, to have the right information being that sent, and then location of people. So the fundamentals were there, but then it accelerated with a smartphone. So
when you say fundamentals, this is a tech talk, so you need to mention the tech. So in these old-fashioned phones, you have the GPS. For the location. And you're talking about push.
But
like SMS.
Yeah, exactly.
Messages,
so what he did was that he saw that this could be solved with the technology. So he took a couple of patents in this area, And one of his first patents.
Before he started developing.
Yeah.
Before he started developing. So yeah.
So I mean, it still had. It was in a combination, you know, with the company growing, but it was how to send push notifications to telephone users based on their location.
Right.
And
that's,
I mean, that's
super smart.
I mean, this was 10 years ago, so that's used by pretty much every app today. But this was
he's all right today
clever.
then. Yeah.
He's a clever man. He's a clever man.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was the start, the fundamentals of it. And when you had the technology, you also saw that, well, we need some content to fill that out.
Yeah.
So basically what we do is that you are somewhere in the world and something happens. Let's say you are in Indonesia and there is an earthquake. And when that happens, we instantly get the information about that. And I can talk a bit more about that later, how we handle it.
I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the information comes in and we do something called geofencing. And geofencing is setting up an area that is affected. And when we do that, set up that area that is affected, and since we know where all the users are, so if there are any users in that area, they will instantly get that message. So either push or SMS.
And this area that you point out, that is depending on the analysis that you do from the information that you get.
That's correct.
So that differs every time. It's not like it's always 1 kilometer or...
No, it differs all the time because a car accident in Jakarta, it doesn't affect too big area. So, but an earthquake sure will.
Yes,
so no, that's the fundamentals of the product. And when that happens, the user, they get the alert something has happened in your area. But then also a lot of other messages is being transmitted to the security manager, to the HR managers, or even the CEO of the company. We have people that are at risk. We have employees that are at risk. And you could say that sometimes, I mean, this guy or this girl is out there doing business somewhere in the world and something is happening. And the company needs to protect their employees. So it's about their safety. So they also have lots of services connected to this, like assistance companies and security providers and others that needs to have the same information.
So actually, when you are implementing this technology into use, you need to connect the different services around it and also different parts of the customer organization, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So how
well, it's tricky.
That work?
No, but it is tricky. So if we start with the information, I mean, there are not that many companies that can do global notification and global alerts. That's just a handful, and it requires quite a lot because you have earthquake information, meteorological data, news data. I mean, there's tons of information sources. And now with the modern information society, everything is at hand. You can really get access to anything. I mean, even the subway system in London. I mean, all the information.
Billions of data.
Yeah, it is. So
all the time. So how do you?
Yeah, exactly. So it is a big problem. Today we have 3 analysis teams, one here in Lund, and one in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and one in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So we cover the world 24/7.
24/7. You cover the others too.
But all the information that comes in, there's so much. So you need to distill what is relevant, what is important. And by doing that, we started, and that was also way back before you talked about machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we started to create our own algorithms to try to classify, to decide what type of content it was, how to categorize it, and then select the importance.
And how fast you needed to communicate. I mean, so I guess that too is like, is it immediate or can we wait for a couple of hours to see how it goes? Or?
Yeah, no, but absolutely. Yeah. So all that information, and we're a small team, so technology was a way for us to scale. If you understand, I mean, we could have hired another 100 people, but you know, it would cost a lot of money.
100 Indians that are really smart.
But you could do it, right? So, and that's what many companies does. Yes. But we wanted to do it with technology because when you have a technology or a tech stack, you can scale, and that was a cool thing that they started looking first at how can we solve it with technology before just saying, oh, let's add more analysts to our team. So that's really hats off to the
hats off, and also understanding how to pull that out of
Yeah.
the analysts and bring it into the technology. I mean, that's
Sure.
that's a trick too. That
Yeah,
could go
definitely.
both ways.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, lots of the work at Safeture is about cross functions. So you have the business development, the analyst team, and the tech team, and it really crossbreeds in a nice way. And then of course together with the customers. I mean, at the end of the day, they are paying for our for our lunch. So
we need to talk about that, because it started as like saving the world, something for everybody, consumer-driven use or need. And then you somewhere on the line you realize, okay, we need to survive too as a company.
Yeah, we need to make money as well. I mean, Lidingö has deep pockets, but not that deep. So I guess we needed to start making money. So and of course we got a lot of propositions from different companies. One of the first ones was IKEA. And they said, well, we have all these employees, and how can we help with the use of your technology to make sure they're safe? And we saw it, or the company saw it as a project. So it started off like, oh yeah, we can do this and this and this. And then the customer says, well, can you do this as well? Yeah, because we're really good at building technology. And then you start adding on more and more features.
I've heard that before. And you actually call that like the project danger. I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's a big danger, definitely.
Why?
I mean, no, but in the beginning, it makes sense because listening to the customer is super important.
You need to do that. That's what we tell you. All the companies developing technology. I'll talk to the customer.
And a project is a good way of doing it. So let's say you come with one product and saying, this is what we want to present to you, and the customer says, well, maybe it should be this one because that's more relevant for us. And that is a project and evolving to this project, to this product. But then the important thing is when you go to the next one and say, here's our product, brand new. Oh yeah, but can you please add this as well? That's the problem. So you need to.
All the time, actually.
Oh yeah, of course. So it's about focusing on that product. So if you've solved something, often together with a customer, but then you need to stop, and that might be a different organization as well. Because a project-driven organization and a product-driven organizations are a bit different, especially how you do the iterations of the product roadmap and the development. Decision making, for sure, yeah.
So how did you? I guess you had to analyze where are the most companies or the most used. I mean, where's the biggest pile of money that we could go to? Or,
exactly.
Or how did you? What happened? And was there an internal fight?
Yeah, but no, but you could say it like this: companies been out there for 10 years, really fighting. Today we work with around 3,000 companies all over the world.
Wow.
Most of our users are outside of Sweden.
They have to be global, I guess.
Oh yeah, of course.
Otherwise,
of course.
This is not.
Of course. Because even if it's a Swedish company, they still have their employees in Indonesia or in India or in Copenhagen. So I mean, that's the market we are addressing. It's a totally global market. So they've been evolving as a company, but still the revenue wasn't really there. I mean, lots of customers, but the customers often saw it as a VIP service. So it was for the CEO or for the vice president or the important people. Exactly. And that is good because we could charge a lot of money per user. But since it was so few users, it didn't really
scale.
No, it didn't really take off because you still have the same sales cycle. So if you want to sign on a Coca-Cola, that takes a year. It takes a year. But if you only go there and ask for a check of $10 or $20 or $100,000,
it's too costly.
It is. It will cost too much money. So there was a shift here, and that was a year ago. That's when I came in. The chairman of the board of the company, Semi Rolf, who is a true veteran from Lund, who has been the CEO of Axis for many years, chairman of the board for cleantech, BoneSport, YoLife. So he's been around. So he came, he was the chairman of the board of Safeture and came to me, and we started discussing and came up with a game plan of how to do it. We saw two things.
But he saw this problem.
Oh yeah, he's a clever guy. He saw the problem, definitely. But he also understood that sometimes it needs to be a change of management in the company. And me with my background from, driving growth, that's what I'm good at.
Business, and I mean,
yeah.
And how was that taken into
the company?
Can we talk about that? This is not prepared. I would say.
No, that was not prepared. That's out of script.
Okay. But I mean, this is really what I see is the key to transforming from one leadership where everything is creativity and project driven and tech driven to where it has to be business driven, and the decisions might fall other places. And it could be the same people, but you need to understand that you need to one day or the other, you need to move to the business-driven decisions.
Absolutely. I see two ways there. Either you cut it short with old management. That is quite common. I don't really like it because it will really, really change the culture of the company. So here at Safeture, so the former CEO, he's the CIO now.
Great.
I mean, I love it. Yeah, he loves it, and I love it, and we really have a lot of fun
because you're
together.
not the tech guy. You understand the user.
No, I'm not. But I was super honest with it. I was not coming there and saying like
I know how to do this.
And I was trying to be a bit humble to it, and it's not my favorite game.
To be humble. Okay, now we know too much.
Now it was totally off script. But what I'm saying is that I came in there and had a plan. I had a plan, and I also knew that I needed to get the company on board. I need to get the board with me. I need to get the investors with me. I need to get all the different aspects, from analysts to
the
development.
Guys. I mean, you need to get them with you to do this.
So, and that is really, I mean, embrace the culture of the company. Put your own flavors to it, for sure, but definitely embrace it, because
it's not that difficult. Because one thing that
it could be. I've seen many horrible examples.
Yes, but I would say that people here, I mean, it's easy to love the technology guys here. They just you need to find common grounds. And they're really amazing.
But Lund I mean, all of the whole Lund spirit is just fantastic. I think. I mean, that's why I love being here, because it's people are nice. People are really nice,
and they listen to each other. We talk,
and respect the other's opinion. I mean, it's not as polarized as where it could be in many other. I mean, I'm from the media industry. It's horrible. I mean, after 15 years in that industry, I still haven't actually a close friend in that industry.
My God.
No, I have tons of friends. But no, not
really. You get deep down to the real thing. I think so too. That's great. And I think that's a part of the culture here. In all the companies. Okay, going back to Safeture now. Sure. So we talked about the project danger, and then you moved into like more structured customer approach. So how did that happen, and what were what kind of companies are you looking for, and how do they use this technology or this service? Because it's both technology and the analytical service.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I try to bring it down to being a product, whether it is service, but it is being productized. So it is, you pay for a product fee for the analysis service as well. So it's definitely no ad hoc, no consultancy, no whatsoever. No. That is forbidden. That is forbidden. So it is product.
You pay for safety.
You pay for safety, and that's a license fee per the number of employees you have.
How much is that worth?
Value-based pricing. Maybe you heard about that instead of unit-based pricing. But that is maybe not so much tech. That is business development. But we can talk about that later. So we work with global companies. It's Fortune 500 companies and really, really big enterprises. That's those we target. But they come in all sizes. And also it comes a lot of the maturity. So, for example, if you look at a company, they can either see that employees are on the cost side or that they actually are something that brings value to the company. And that's a big shift. So if you look back 20 years, the intellectual property of a balance sheet of a company used to be 20%, 30% of the balance sheet. Today it's 70%. That means that employees have a much higher value today, but they also have a much higher cost today. So the value of the employees and the intellectual capital in the company goes up. And that means that you really need to nurture to what they demand.
And also invest in them.
So it's one thing that they get a really, really good salary. But you can get a really good salary anywhere.
Yeah.
So there needs to be more to it, you know, the different types of benefits around it, and the flexibility in your work, or share options, stock options, programs, and there are many ways. And one way is also being a culture-driven company. So you do something, you know, to save the world, sort of. No, but you have an additional purpose.
Yes.
And
you work a lot with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's really, really true. You can see companies, especially in Silicon Valley, how they are working with this, and it has its dangers for sure. But if you look at it, how to retain and attract talents, you really need to take care of them, and we mean that taking care of their safety and being that. I mean, it's just should be there, because
super. I mean, it's really up to date now.
Yeah.
If we talk about what's going on in the world, it's a big pandemic, and
and everyone is out of office,
and the climate disasters are just more and more. We can see, I mean, islands being totally wiped off, and earthquakes and tsunamis, and I mean, they're not that little that could happen to.
No, I mean, now I was doing an extreme, you know, with an earthquake in Indonesia. But remember that there is an out-of-office trend that's been going on for a long, long time. There is an increased mobility in workplaces everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you look at companies, that was used to be these offices here in Lund, you know, they were crammed with people, and you had your security cameras and the security guards, and you went in there and you were in a safe environment.
Yes.
When you left the office, then you were on your own.
Yeah.
You know, that was after
hours. And the
hours.
insurance company took over. Yeah.
Yeah, or your insurance. So they left the responsibility over to you.
Yeah.
But today, when there is such a high mobility, you work with subcontractors in Germany or in India or wherever it might be. You work from home and you go out to meet customers all over the world. Everything is so global, higher mobility. And that means that for a company, they just need to know, where are my employees? How can I communicate them? How can I make sure they are safe? And so there are some major macro trends that's pointing this direction in general. And that's good for our business.
Yeah. And how is it? I mean, we have actually use cases where it's been used in this corona pandemic. Can you tell me, is it allowed? Are you allowed to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have tons of data from these thousands of companies and hundreds of thousands of employees, where we know where people have been, where they are, and where they're about to go. So future trips and etc. And then we have data about all the incidents that's happening around the world. And when we saw the spread of the pandemic here, the COVID-19.
This was early on.
Yeah, this was in January. We already got the first reports in December that came in for China. Right. And then in January, we saw more and more of it. And then we tried to understand why is there such a big fuss about this. And that means that in the system, you could see how many people that were in a certain area that could be affected. Like if there were a large spread of the coronavirus in that area, then we could serve that data to a company. Yes. We don't come with the consultancy or the advice, but we came with the data, the information.
So it's only facts in the messages. It's like, it doesn't say like run and hide.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It says.
Exactly. Very important.
Yeah.
It's just facts. Just facts. Very, very important.
Because we talked about this, that if you say that, a dangerous person looking like this, please drop to the ground.
Absolutely.
Nothing like that, but just this is.
And there are companies that's really good at it. I mean, there are security firms and assistance companies that's better at that.
So what you serve is like, there's a possible virus.
This was actually cases. So there was concrete cases, and we saw that people were on the locations that's been affected, like in China. So our customers, they got the data and could say, we need to shut the stores now. We need to cancel the trips to this area. And those who have been there, we would put them in quarantine for 2 weeks. So
they were really early on.
Super early. I mean, our solution, our technology platform helped stop or prevent, decrease the speed of the pandemic.
Yes.
So we understood that why should this only be for our customers? We need to get this out to the world.
Yeah.
So and the idea came up on a Monday, And that was also cross-functional. We were sitting there with tech and business development and sales and analysts, and we discussed it, came up with the idea for a corona exposure tracker on a Monday, and we launched it on a Thursday, the same week.
That's wow.
And I love that. I mean, that type of hacking.
And what is it?
Is
it something, I mean, it's different from...
No. So it was there all along, but we just need to connect the dots. So we had all the data about where people have been, where they are, and where they're going. And then we combine that with a very granular map down to a regional level, how many cases of COVID-19 was reported.
Right.
Because HWO and many others, they were reporting that. So we had that data, and then we just matched it together.
Right.
And out came a report which could say that your company have had this many people being in Milan or etc. And then they understood that take the appropriate measures. So with that data, it was like, whoa, we need to act really, really fast. So with the quarantines, stop all the travels, etc. And this was before the outbreak really came. So we launched it to the globally in end of February. I think it was 23rd of February. So that was week 8.
Yes. Wow, that's when everybody was skiing.
Yeah, exactly.
Touching everything in Italy.
But I remember when we launched it, we had a big customer that had around 12,000 travelers.
Yeah.
And on that Thursday when we launched it, 6% of their travelers had been in a region with at least 10 reported COVID-19 cases.
Wow.
The day after, it was 8%.
No.
That's how fast it spread.
It
was like...
What do you do when you understand this?
It was... exactly. But also we got some amazing coverage for it. I think we got 1,200 press clippings around the world and hundreds of new...
And it's still available on your website, right?
It is. But to be honest and really fair, the product only lasted for 4 weeks because then we had a pandemic.
Okay, so then it was out everywhere. The newspaper took off. Yeah,
exactly. And so we helped prevent the spread in those early days at workplaces around the world. So that's nice.
Yeah.
But then we had a pandemic, and that continued for quite some time. And we were thinking, how can we help out also during the pandemic?
Yeah.
And then we remember we had this infamous press conference with Donald Trump. I don't know if you recall it, but when he told people to drink Clorox and shove a UV light up their butt, and it was just hilarious. It was just crazy. And during that press conference, he said, "We must open up for business. Open up for business." And we were like, let's register openupforbusiness.com. So we did that. And then we took all the world's restrictions data, corona status, quarantine rules, school closures, and the rules for the different airplanes. We took all the data and put it in one place and called it openupforbusiness.com. And it was a map, and you just click on the region you want to go to.
You get updated. I mean, how fresh is it?
It's as fresh as it gets.
Okay. So that's the best place to go. If you want to, I mean,
that is free. That is totally free.
Sitting in one
it was just
you could go to Madrid. You just go to Open Up for Business.
Exactly. Whether it's doing your family trip or going on a business meeting, use that definitely. It's a resource, because you have all the world's all the countries in the world. You can go there and see what applies for the country.
And that's also saving the world. You're back to
absolutely. Communication, information, education, right? No, but what I'm saying there is that that was not something we were selling. That was just showing that it's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Because it shows exactly what you're good at.
Exactly. So, and that brings in some of my primary skills, which is more around marketing and sales. So this was an awareness product. So it was not even in the funnel. It was because we wanted to tell the world that we exist and we have these capabilities of building cool stuff. So
and can you see how many? I mean, where in the world they're using your data, or can you follow? Like, are there many Trump followers that?
I mean, the granularity of data, I will not go into that here because it's we also have the agreements with the customers.
Yeah, because there are some security levels of legal security levels that you need to adjust
Oh,
to?
yes. I don't know how many different types of, it's called penetration tests on our system. So when the customer comes and says, well, you actually have all the data of where our employees have been, where they are, and where they're about to go. I mean, imagine if that would come in right in the wrong hands. It would be like a TikTok on speed.
This is not what you should do, but you could have a list of how many love affairs between this company and that company actually supposedly happens.
Now we're talking tech development.
Don't do that.
No, don't do that. No. Did you hear about that with Uber when they did that?
No.
How many had extramarital affairs?
No.
Because they saw that this guy had this, normally took the Uber to his home to work, but then they could also see deviances from that when they stopped for another place.
And for how long?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
So
that's something you should. I mean,
and they did it and said, "Well, we could do this." But when people heard that, I mean, the very second they told about this, that we saw a correlation, extramarital affairs and stuff. What happened was I got massive hacking attacks, of course, because people wanted to get that data. Because imagine how valuable that could be.
That could be valuable. That's another business.
That's another business. That's another business.
So going back to this, I think we have a question here.
Sure.
Maybe I should pop that in. Suppose you are a recruiter who will hire a candidate. Is it based on his skills or experience? Also, I wanted to know how the resume procedure.
The resume procedure works.
Resume procedure works.
Yeah.
Do they put all the resume to the system and then they can scan based on?
I mean, if you talk about skills and experience, that's connected. Your experience makes up your skills, right? So I would say that that is the number one at any time during recruitment. I would say that what you have studied, for example, doesn't have a much
impact.
Much less. It was more important, I think, 10, 20 years ago, but today has not, because the ability to adapt is more important.
The ability to serve up the knowledge. So serve up the knowledge and
but imagine you're an engineer 20 years ago, and if you would stick with that engineering skills you had 20 years ago, it would be completely irrelevant today. You always need to adapt to a new situation and new technology that evolves, and that is accelerating so fast. So professions will cease to exist. And it's always been like that, but now the pace is much higher. So experience is a good thing, that you have many different types of experience and skill sets, because that shows that you can adapt to different types of situations. And that is probably a more valuable person, I would say, than you have just one certain skill. Because those one-trick ponies can be amazing, but they need to be in a context of other skills. Otherwise, they will rarely make sense.
But how do you evaluate that, and who is the person taking that decisions? I mean, this is a question regarding.
I mean, recruitment. I mean,
your recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, that is the hardest part. I just told you that the most valuable asset we have is employees, you know, and it's my main investments that I do in technology and bandwidth.
And you're growing fast too now, so you're actually recruiting all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. But
how many people are you now?
We are 44. Yeah, 44 in the company and growing. Yeah,
and some of them are
24 a year ago.
In other places, as you say.
Yeah, so we have our headquarters here in Lund, and that means that we have all of our development areas only in-house. We only do in-house, especially since we work with security. It's even more important. Yes. And also we're a publicly listed company, so that is important that we keep it in-house. Sorry, all you guys trying to sell me offshoring. No.
But the thing is, we have to talk about security too, because there's so much data that actually could be hacked. How do you keep it safe? I mean, that's one of your business, values, to be able to keep it safe.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And open to the right people.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's one thing, I don't know how to call that in English, but what we say. It's one thing what we say. I mean, we have, the best tech developers, yada, 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 and you say that this is what we have, this is how we handle security. But more honest would be to hand it over to the customers and say, this is what we have, but now it's up to you to see if we are as good as we say. So we offer penetration tests for customers, so they can try to hack us.
The data.
Yeah.
Do that like with every customer?
No, it's not. But
if they have issues
but
with
some of them you offer that, and we have quite a few that have done that.
Tried.
And that's great. And all we say is like, we will help you with resources, but we want the results afterwards. So they need to share that.
So you learn
and so we learn as well, not just that. Oh, sorry, you got hacked. Okay.
That's a great tip actually.
Sure.
But you also had some trend spotting, which I would like to show. Can we get this picture up? Because it's so interesting when you have like experience from different kind of industries and different kind of businesses, and of course with experience that we just talked about.
Absolutely.
Some people are able to like connect the dots and look into the future.
Yeah.
So now
I would say that is one of the most important things when you're building a company, or you're in a company looking forward, to always reevaluate where you are as a company and look forward and try to think about the different trends that's out there and how that will affect your business. It's really, really important. So this was for, let's see if it's up. Yeah, it seems to be up. So this was for a seminar I did together with the Chamber of Commerce in Southeast Asia here last week. And I tried to have a look at the world and see if there are some things affecting global companies. And then I came up with this, that already back in 1995, we had the big WorldCom Enron scandal. And that was a major impact. And what happened was that in the aftermath after that, the government will always interfere. Yeah. I mean, they will always. It's like a rule of law. It's just out there.
It's such a big
nature
shock
law.
too. I remember all the papers were full of it.
And you know, it was fraud basically. But what happened was that they introduced Sarbanes-Oxley and IFRS, and that affected every company in the world. They need to have new bookkeeping rules, etc., and so on. And then we
and you never thought that would happen. Nobody thought it would ever happen. And then suddenly it was possible. It changed the world a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can never know what will happen. So the next one was even more. I mean, we had 9/11. I mean, of course, there have been terrorist attacks, but this was like, it was so big. I mean, everyone knows where they were that day. And the same thing in the aftermath after that, you saw the government interfering, and you have the Patriot Act, Homeland Security, we have local legislation in Sweden and all over the world.
All over the world. Everybody just acted. Very
so
hard.
they needed to set new standards for security and etc. And then we moved further along, and you had the financial crisis, Greek and Lehman Brothers and all of that, and the same thing there. I mean, in the aftermath of that, you develop new rules that the governments came up with. It's always a bit late. I mean, they never do it before. It's always later.
Of course,
and often it takes some time before they actually put in the legislation. But it's normally pretty strict. Yeah. And that's also affected every company in the world. And we continue to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Yeah. Facebook scandal, the same thing there. And we have GDPR. I mean, GDPR is like, you know, every single company needed to have a GDPR policy. Well, here in Europe at least. And that is same thing there. The governments come and see like, oh, we have this problem. Now we need to hit it with a big sledgehammer. It's a big hammer.
Because I have issues with it because it's every time you need to, you get a warning. Yes, that's good. You get a warning. We will keep your data. And you have the opportunity to go into per each like website I'm on, I can go into and choose whether I want this or that. But I never have the time. No, so what happens? You always click yes. Yeah, you do. So it's not safe. No. And I would like to have. Actually, this is my transport day. Ooh, nice. I wait for the service that when I can control my own data. I can schedule that I want these kind of companies or organizations. They can use my data all the time. I say yes to them. These are somewhat suspect. If they earn money, I would earn the money. So they have to pay me to use my data. And then they have the other companies or organizations that you would never No, they would
Yeah,
never
I think
get my data.
Facebook and Google would oppose you there.
So
that's how they make their money.
Yeah, but
no, I do agree.
It will. The user.
Yeah, and that was partly the idea of GDPR. It was more trying to fend off Facebook and Google.
Yes.
But I do believe that there are some
reality.
cool business models that is around the corner. You talk about the blockchain and how that could handle it and so on. But we're not really there yet.
No.
So at the end of the trend spotting
exactly.
was that same thing there. There was big legislative efforts and that came. And now we're in the Corona crisis, COVID-19 situation, and we have the pandemic. And you can be 100% sure there will be legislation, there will be new rules coming at you.
Yes,
what these are, I don't know.
No.
I mean, imagine there is a reason you have fire drills at the company. There's not been a fire at the company in Lund probably for 100 years, but you still have those fire drills. But now maybe there will be other types of drills, or there will be quarantine drills. How fast can you isolate the employees at the company?
And
will
track
you have
them and make
track them and be able to locate them and so on? And it could be that you need to have a quarantine passport, that you are antibodies, or that you have taken the vaccine.
What do you think about those things? I mean, that could actually create some different class structures too. These are the ones with the
technology is making people equal, but also more divided.
Yes.
I mean, I know we talked about it a bit before about how media is being polarized, and if you look at media and how it's been for the past 10 or 20 years, they're under an enormous stress and pressure. So because you had you controlled the reach, you controlled your audience when you were a media outlet, and especially for TV and newspapers and radio. But along came internet and completely destroyed that business model. Now everything is available for everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
And that means you don't control your audience. You need to validate and qualify your audience every day. And that means that you need to be more edgy in what you communicate. So I can give you an example. I mean, if you look at the paper just 10 years ago, the whole paper was about facts. It was just facts, you know, there was a car crash here and this happened there and etc. And then you had the leader section, the first page of the paper. That was where they had the opinions.
Yes, one page.
And that was one page with opinions, you know, all of this happened.
And you knew that this is where the opinions are. And or the columnist, also opinions, but it's divided.
Yeah, it was clearly labeled. But today it's everywhere. It's on the culture pages, on the domestic, it's an international, everywhere in the paper there are views. Whether it's because they have to, because they still try to keep their target group. And they have identified that their target group is right wing or left wing or centrist, or I don't know what it is, but no matter what, they really try to focus their efforts on the target group, not just the general public, like it used to be. It used to be the general public, but it's not that today. And that is a shame, because that means that you have a more polarized world where the views can be quite strong. I mean, we have the US election coming up here. We see the debate here in Sweden as well. I mean, it is polarizing. That is a bit scary.
A bit scary. But your trend then, the trend spotting would end up in like maybe we could see in the future that but there's been a trend for a long time that the companies will have to take more and more care of their employees, and you see that it's going to like extend even more.
Oh yeah, there will be more, and there will be requirements. There will be legislation,
and that's connected to you have the media situation that really is nothing is like scaled down to only facts, and it's also the speed to get the right fact is like
the one sending the message must have the highest authority and trustworthiness. That is super important, because if you're not trustworthy as the sender of a message, you will go down really fast, because everyone can call your bluff. Basically.
True. But when you say all these things, why aren't I mean, then your service should actually be governmental. Are you in any
Well,
process,
that's if you mean that the government comes with a right view.
How?
So, I mean, just imagine, they are always late
not
to the
all
party.
Governments will
No, that's what I mean.
to truth.
No, they're not. So, and they're always late to the party.
Yeah.
The fastest one moving is always the companies.
Mm.
It's always individual people and the companies. They are always moving much, much faster. So, I mean, capitalism, that's how it works. There is a problem, there will come a solution. And that is great. And if you say to the government, now you need to solve this, it will take some time. And maybe who should I ask? Should it be you and me? Or should it be those two guys over there? Should it be based on the political? I mean, there are so many different things that it can go bad. That's what I'm saying. So,
are there any positive sides to this, or are we
of course there is. Of course there is. No. But it must be based on. You know, science or general opinion. Yeah. Because if it's not science and it's not general opinion, but a niche opinion. Yeah. Then we have problems, because then it will not be accepted in the general society. So yeah.
And this is something that you need. Is your company and your technology all the time needs to balance and stay alert to, I guess.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So absolutely. So it's a trick for your company to stay ahead also in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we try to integrate with as many different other parties as well, because it's so easy that you start building stuff. I mean, we've been doing that for a long time, and I know my engineers are super, super good, but they shouldn't always build new stuff. No. Instead, why not say we take in other parties to bring in value to our platform, and then because the customer will appreciate it, because you can't be best at everything in a platform. There will be other companies that are better at some parts.
How do you choose? So you have these technology developers, and you have the experience that you built up during 10 years of developing.
Sure.
How do you decide on what could be brought in from someone else, and how do you evaluate?
If I have lost to them, then I know there will be a fantastic partner.
That's a good tip, actually. So you as a competitor.
Yeah. No, but it makes some sense.
Them, join them.
Yeah, exactly. It's called frenemies. You know,
yes,
frenemies.
That's a few of them.
Yeah. Was that personal?
No, in my professional life.
Oh, your professional life. Okay.
Yeah. So tell me more about this.
Okay.
Do you have a use case, or can you expose?
No, but absolutely. I can take one that is much simpler though. But we had a visualization tool of data. So you have all this data about their employees and where they've been in the world, how much risk they've been exposed to, and etc. I mean, that is critical information for any type of company. And to make all this visualization work, we knew how to build that. We know exactly how to build that. But should we?
Yeah.
Right? Why not just bring in something else? Question. So we brought in other tools in order to do this. It would be great to control it, because we could control the user experience much more, but we would need to invest another 1,000 hours or a couple of 1,000 hours. So instead we took in a third party and solved it.
Exactly. Yeah. So because if you start from scratch, you will be slow.
Costed me a couple of €100,000, but it was totally worth it, because it speeded up and we could focus on what we're really, really good at. So always remember to do that. You need to know what you're really, really good at.
Yeah.
And we saw that our core, that was the communication, information, and the location. That was our core.
Yeah.
And there were things, subsets that should not be. Right. The same thing. I mean, companies ask us all the time, can you help us do some analysis or bespoke reports based on this data that you have? And the answer is no, we won't. But we know these fantastic partners, they can help you with it.
Right.
But we will not do it.
And then you build, I think that's a typical Swedish way to build a big company, through networking. Like you have all these services behind you or next to you, and you offer it to, you have the, customer relation, and then you can offer.
Because that's the important thing, to owning the customer relation. So, I mean, you've heard all these open source and open platform trends that's been going on for a long time, and they are there for a reason. Yeah. So if you have the customer relations, make sure that the customer feels really, really happy. Yeah. If that involves also bringing others to the party, do it.
Just do it.
Just do it, definitely, because it will make them more appreciate you more. You will it will be like you're transparent, basically.
That's great. You have come up with a lot of advice already, but I think I know that you have one final. We're gonna wait with that because
Sure.
I would like to. Do you have questions? Are there listeners out there that wonders anything? Did we talk enough about the technology, or do you want to know even more? You have now 10 minutes before we wrap this up.
Yeah, that's right.
So think about those questions, and we'd love to answer them. But in the meantime, maybe what's your tip if there are not only engineers listening to this, but actual scale-up leaders or startup leaders? What's your best advice?
When you do the analysis, whether it's for a new company, it's for a new product, it's for an existing product, always put in lots and lots of emphasis on that. Really, really dig deep. Let it take some time, because it's so easy that if you do it a bit too fast, it's easy that you miss a couple of important aspects of your offering. I can give you one example. We had thousands of companies, and it was a VIP service for these high frequency CEOs like that. And we did a price study, and we saw that they were ready to pay between 100 and 300 euros per person.
Wow!
And then we thought, wow, if we get a company with 10,000 users, that will be $1 million, right?
Easy peasy.
Yeah, easy peasy. But of course, the analysis was wrong. They were ready to pay that for the CEOs, but not for the CFO or for the product manager.
So there's a scale of importance.
Exactly. So what we needed to do was to have the full product, absolutely, because that was like, with gold and everything on it, the super service. But we needed to scale it, or modularize it. So we had different types of modules based on different types of needs. If you're not that much out traveling or high mobility and so on, then there are other parts of the platform that was important. So that was something that when you immediately look at it, you saw that, wow, we can charge this much. If we would have tried to do that when we signed on Siemens with 50,000 employees, they would never accept it. They would never. Oh yes, we're going to pay you 5 million euros a year. It's like, no, they will not. They will not.
So when you say dig deep into the analysis, you actually mean the situation at the customer. I mean, how was it?
All aspects. I mean, it's sort of a business plan for whether it's a product or a company. I mean, you really need to think about the one that will receive it, the target group, the audience. Of course, you need to think about how you structure it and how you package it. I mean, it's a full scope. You really put in time and effort there, because if you do it sloppy, it will get sloppy.
It's also about, from turning from consumers to business as a customer. I know that there is some, Hampus Jakobsson also talks about this.
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's your friend, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he talks about the super small customer paying a small amount every time. It takes too much time to hunt them down one by one. You have to find many at the same time. Or you have the medium-sized, which if the first one is a rabbit, the second one might be a deer. You can still hunt it down one by one, and it's a little bit more money, and it could be worth it. So you go to relationship selling. And then the big whales. You need to be on different levels in the organization at the same time and know all the.
It's segmenting. It's segmenting about your offering and finding out how your different target groups are. Because remember, sales has changed dramatically for the past 10 years. I mean, before it was about what you wanted to say. But today it's about what the customer wants to hear. Because the customer journey, normally it was only, they did around 20% of the customer journey, and then the sales guys, they help them with the rest, all the parts that should be in the offer. But today, a customer journey, the company itself, they make between 70 and 80% of the customer journey. They come up with the idea, we need to have an employee safety platform, for example. And then they sit down in the project groups, have a project manager, a product manager, and they have, the IT manager. I mean, lots of different resources, and they discuss back and forth, and they do research in the market and so on. And then they call you, and you're like, wow, I got an incoming lead. No, they just want to know the price.
Yeah.
They already made up their mind.
Yeah.
So you need to start affecting them much, much earlier in the sales process. And that is tough. But by doing that, then you can start steering them in the right direction. So I would say that lead times, they vary quite a lot based on what types of customers. So you will be ready that if they already made up their mind, you can't change it. Then you should serve them like that. You know, pretty much self-service.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the bigger ones, where you know they have done research, but they have not got it right, we need to help them. Normally, that's bigger customers. Then you really need to put in lots and lots of resources when they're ready to buy, not before they're ready to buy, because they need to complete their customer journey first.
Yeah.
But when they're ready to buy,
but
full throttle
I used to
all
say
resources.
that you need to be like visible in the customer journey early on.
Oh yeah.
Not perhaps you know wining and dining them, but funneling
that's too,
in them.
But no, but I mean,
so wine and dine too.
A simple tip is just to widen the funnel as much as you possibly can,
yeah.
because you never know when they will be ready. So if you have a too narrow funnel, it means that there will be too few coming out of it when they're ready. So really have a wide funnel. I mean, thousands of prospects in there, because based on when you start communicating, it's called the frequency or whatever. So then you start funneling them to when they're ready to buy.
And one of the secrets to that is that you need to be able to talk about your technology in a way that anybody can understand.
And you should be transparent about it and communicate it. So even if, I mean, I work in security, you know, and everyone is a bit secretive, right?
Yeah.
In there, but we try to you know, more about what we know, and we want to share it with as many people as possible. Like open up for business was one example.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great
we could have kept that for ourselves and just shared it with some of our customers.
Yeah, and charged really high.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So that's a great tip. So a big analysis, open with your knowledge, share it with many.
Oh yeah.
Big funnel, and then as we heard earlier on this week, never give up.
Never give up. No, that's right. That's right.
So I don't think we have any questions, right?
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to, like, you have to know this about me or my company? You have 4 minutes before.
Oh, it's fine. It feels like I'm bespoken word. It was really nice being here. I enjoyed the conversation. So there's lots of things to do, but I could absolutely say that feel free to reach out. If you don't have the questions now, reach out to me. I mean, magnus.hultman@safeture.com, magnus.hultman@safeture.com, or find me on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm there, so I'll be happy to answer if there's any questions.
That's really great, and I just want to say thank you for coming. It was a lovely chat about tech and markets and the future. And the history too. It's all included.
Absolutely, all included.
Yeah. And the next time we have this Tech Talks, we will speak to the company Modelon and the CEO of that company. And they have like, well, I won't go into it, but it's going to be equally interesting. And we're going to dig deep into their technology too. Why the aerospace are using their technology to save energy and efficiency. So thank you for today, and have a great Friday.
Absolutely. Friday.
You said on the LinkedIn, you said Fridays are skills days.
No. Well, we have hack days. We have a hack days on Fridays. So once a month we have a hack day, and that is pretty much every one of the employees can involve themselves in a project they fancy, they like. Okay. And we try to urge them to do it cross-functionally. So it could be like the CFO together with a developer, finding out something, how to improve, whatever it might be. So I love that concept. It's great.
Now you got another tip. Fridays are for skills days or development days.
Sure.
So thank you for today.
Have
a great Friday, and see you soon again.